Well, hello there. I am the Arabic language. Yes, you heard that right, the language itself. And to be completely honest with you, I'm feeling a little bit exasperated today. But at the same time, I am incredibly enthusiastic to be here. Why? Because I literally hear how you speak to the Creator every single day, and frankly, we need to fix your prayers. So welcome to this explainer. Today we're going on the hero's journey of your very own tongue, and we're going to fix those subtle mistakes your muscles don't even realize they're making.
Okay, let me ask you something kind of crazy. Are you accidentally asking Allah for sunlight instead of worship? I know, it sounds absolutely ridiculous, almost like a joke, right? But this is a shocking, very real thing happening every single day all across the globe. Millions of incredibly devoted Muslims are just unknowingly changing the entire meaning of their daily salah. Let's look at exactly how this goes down. Starting with Section 1, the mistakes ruining your salah. So you have to understand, I am a very, very precise language. If you change a single letter or even stretch a vowel for a fraction of a second, you are putting your connection with the Creator at risk. Take Surah Al-Fatiha, for example. We've got the word iyaka with a strong, solid emphasis, which means you alone we worship. But if you just lazily drop that emphasis, it becomes ayaka, which literally translates to sunlight. So without even knowing it, you've completely turned a profound fundamental plea to the Almighty into an accidental weather request. The real culprit behind this whole sunlight mistake? It's ignoring the shadda. A shadda structurally doubles a letter. It is a mandatory structural element. It is absolutely not just a casual suggestion to make things sound pretty. Ignoring the shadda means you are quite literally deleting letters from the Quran as you pray. Imagine handing someone a heavily redacted, blacked-out document, because that is precisely what your salah becomes when you skip it. Moving on to Section 2, the anatomy of your mouth and mastering pronunciation gymnastics. Look, to pronounce me correctly, we're going to have to do some serious mouth gymnastics. In fact, I want you to do me a favor. Pause right now and go grab a mirror. Seriously, go get one. I'll wait. Okay, ready? It is time for an interactive audit to fix the physical errors your facial muscles are routinely making without your brain even registering them. We really need to look closely at what is happening inside there. Let's start way down deep in the throat. To say a word like cowl, which means speech, you require this profound, deep vibration from the very bottom of your throat. It has to feel completely distinct from the light, clicking tap of the standard English K. If you are just tapping the roof of your mouth, I hate to break it to you, but you aren't speaking Arabic yet. You've got to go deeper. Engage those lower throat muscles to get that authentic, powerful resonance. Now, let's tackle the tricky letter H. You need to constrict the middle of your throat and then breathe out hot air. Think about it like you're trying to fog up a pair of glasses on a bitterly cold day. That exact physical friction, that's what produces the crisp, raspy sound you absolutely need here. If you don't feel a slight constriction and actual heat in your throat, you are probably just making a breathy, totally meaningless English H sound instead. Moving up a bit into the mouth, we have the heavy sod. For this one, you've got to drop your jaw slightly and raise the very back of your tongue right up toward the roof of your mouth. What this does is trap the air inside your oral cavity and pushes the sound outward, making it incredibly thick and round. It's a heavy, commanding letter. It literally takes up space in your mouth, which is totally different from a flat, thin, standard S that just hisses weakly through your teeth. Next up, let's talk about your teeth. These guys are absolutely crucial for letters like thal and za. And I have to give a massive warning here. If you lazily turn the heavy za into a standard English z, you completely mutate the meaning of Allah's magnificent name, Al-Azim. You take it from meaning the supreme to something entirely different and honestly, inappropriate. It's a terrifying mistake, and it happens purely out of having a lazy tongue. Grab that mirror you had earlier and look at yourself right now. If you cannot literally see your tongue resting between your upper and lower teeth when making these sounds, you are doing it wrong. It really is that simple. Tongue placement isn't just an option. It dictates reality. If your tongue hides behind your teeth, my letters change, the words change, and your entire prayer changes. Okay, on to Section 3, short vowels, big disasters. The harakat. It genuinely makes me groan thinking about how often people stretch these out and invent entirely new letters that simply do not exist in my alphabet. These three short vowels are what give my consonants life. You've got the fatha for the short, sharp a, The kesra for the crisp I and the dhamma for the quick u. They are meant to be fast, definitive, and immediately released. No lingering. So why do these tiny little marks matter so much? Take the word ilm, which means profound knowledge. If you just simply swap that bottom kasra for a top fatha, you get alam, which means a flag. You have just turned absolute, profound knowledge into a piece of fabric on a pole, all with one tiny dash. My vocabulary is just incredibly sensitive to these slight shifts. The unbreakable rule you have to follow is that you cannot lengthen them. Stretching a short fatha for even a fraction of a second adds a completely non-existent letter, an aleph, to my alphabet. When you do that, you end up shifting the grammar entirely. You go from a simple descriptive word to suddenly changing exactly who is performing the action in your prayer. A tiny hum transforms the whole sentence structure. Imagine trying to say, he hit the ball, and accidentally saying, the ball hit him. That is the exact level of disaster we're talking about here. Which brings us to Section 4, the Qalqala echo effect, a structural necessity. So this introduces the concept of Qalqala, where certain letters absolutely must bounce. There are 5 specific letters that require this echoing bounce when they have a sukun on them, which just means there's no vowel attached. Those letters are qaf, ta, ba, jim, and dal. Memorize those 5 because without this bounce, the word fundamentally breaks apart in your mouth. Listen to Surah Al-Ikhlas and you can hear this in action. Qul huwallahu ahad. See, the correct way has this beautiful resonant echo on the dal right at the very end. But if you close your mouth tightly and stifle that stop, it turns into a blunt, trapped, unrecognizable ahad. It just feels cut off, abruptly suffocating the majestic flow of the whole recitation. I really need to emphasize this point. The qalqala is a structural necessity. It is not an optional beautification that you just do to sound nice. If you don't bounce the letter disappears entirely. And when a letter disappears, the word is structurally destroyed. You literally cannot just chop the ends off my words and expect them to carry the same divine weight.
Finally, Section 5, the double reward for struggling.
Look, I know I've been a bit strict with you today, acting as the Arabic language, so let me soften my tone a little. Learning this is incredibly difficult because your brain actually naturally filters out your own mistakes. You simply cannot fix what you cannot hear. You really need trained ears and dedicated mentors to catch these subtle errors that your own mind is just constantly glossing over. But here is the truly beautiful part. Please remember, your current struggle to correctly pronounce me is actually a spiritual goldmine. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Such a person who exerts himself to learn the Quran by heart and recites it with great difficulty will have a double reward." Rest assured, Allah sees your frustration, He hears your stuttering, and He literally doubles your reward for the immense effort you are making to perfect your recitation. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. Will you let a few mispronounced letters stand between you and perfecting your Salah? Or will your journey begin today? Keep that mirror handy, correct your Tajweed, and truly honor the Book of Allah. You've got this.